You look at strong men and you think they were born that way. Born unbreakable. Born fearless. Born with something you don't have. But strength is never born. It is built. Through suffering, through pressure, through moments of breaking and rising again. Every strong man was once a weak man who refused to stay that way. Strength is not in your blood. It is in your scars. It is in the nights you dragged yourself back into the fight when everything inside you begged for comfort. It is in the mornings where your body said no, but your purpose said again. Strong men are not chosen. They are forged. You weren't born lacking strength. You were born lacking struggle. And without struggle, no man discovers what he truly is. Soft environments create soft identities. Easy paths create fragile spirits. Comfort builds nothing except weakness disguised as peace. The fire is the only teacher that tells the truth. If you feel weak today, it is not because something is wrong with you. It is because you have not stood long enough in the places where strength is made. You have avoided the heat. You have run from pressure. You have protected yourself from the very discomfort that would have shaped you into someone unrecognizable. Weakness survives where struggle is avoided. Every strong man you admire once cried in the same darkness you're sitting in. Once doubted himself the same way you do. Once broke under pressure that now looks small, but the difference is simple. He stepped back into the fire. Again, and again, and again. Until the fire stopped scaring him. No one is naturally disciplined. Discipline is a graveyard of 1,000 impulses you chose not to follow. Discipline is a battlefield where you kill the weaker version of yourself every single day. Discipline is not a gift. It is a war, and you must fight it. No one is naturally confident. Confidence is built when you do the things you were once terrified of. When you face the weight that used to crush you. When you rise from your knees after falling harder than you expected. Confidence is the echo of battles won in silence. Strength begins the moment you stop believing you were meant to stay the same. The moment you look at your own weakness and refuse to accept that this is all you can become. Strength is not some divine inheritance. It is a decision made in rooms full of sweat, blood, and disappointment. Men do not become strong because they find motivation. They become strong because they find reasons. Reasons to push when they're exhausted. Reasons to rise when they're defeated. Reasons to stand when life tries to fold them. A man with a reason will walk through hell as many times as it takes. The truth no one tells you is this: strength is lonely. Strength is ugly. Strength is slow. It is the repetition of painful, unglamorous work. It is the grinding of teeth in a room no one sees. It is the war between who you are and who you could be. Most men never win that war because they never show up for it. But you are here. You are listening. You feel something raging in you that refuses to die. You know your weakness is not permanent. You know your identity is not fixed. You know your strength is waiting for you on the other side of suffering. All you have to do is step into the heat. No one is naturally strong. Not him. Not them. Not anyone. Strength belongs to the man who is willing to bleed for it, to break for it, to sweat for it, to suffer for it. If you can endure the fire will make you into something unrecognizable. In Chapter 2, you will learn why the beginning of becoming strong always feels impossible, and why that feeling is the proof you're finally on the right path. The beginning of strength always feels impossible, not because you lack potential, but because you have never fought this version of yourself before. Weakness is familiar. Comfort is familiar. Avoidance is familiar, but the fire is not. And the fire does not welcome you gently. The first cuts are always the deepest. The body trembles. The lungs burn. The mind panics. You feel every limitation you've ignored for years suddenly scream for attention. The price of entering the forge is confrontation, with everything soft inside you. Discomfort hits hardest when you are not used to fighting back, when your muscles haven't been asked to endure, when your mind hasn't been trained to hold its ground under pressure. You mistake effort for danger. You mistake pressure for pain. You mistake challenge for condemnation. But the truth is brutal. Your weakness is not being attacked. It is being exposed. The fire is not destroying you. It is revealing you. And revelation is always painful the first time it arrives. The reason the beginning feels impossible is because your old identity tries to survive. It panics as you step into struggle. It begs you to stop. It whispers, "This isn't you." But it is lying. It is defending the version of you built in softness. Strength begins the moment this inner conflict starts, when every soft instinct tells you to run and you choose to stay. When your body tells you it hurts and you breathe anyway. When your mind tells you to quit and you whisper, "No." This is where the real training begins. The early struggle is not a sign of failure, it is the sign of change. Everything inside you is recalibrating, every muscle, every breath, every belief, every reflex. Your system is trying to understand why you are suddenly refusing the path of least resistance. The beginning cuts because you are still learning to separate pain from growth. Pain is sharp, growth is slow. Pain screams, growth whispers, pain demands attention, growth demands endurance. And you must learn to hear the whisper beneath the scream. You shake not because you're failing, but because you're awakening. You sweat violently, not because you're weak, but because you're finally pushing beyond the borders of the man you used to be. You feel overwhelmed because you have spent years avoiding exactly this moment. At the start, every step feels heavier than it should. Every rep feels longer than it should. Every breath feels sharper than it should. But the forge does not care about what should be. It cares only about what must be broken for strength to emerge. You will bleed. You will strain. You will doubt. You will curse yourself. You will question your worth. And that is the point. The fire uses discomfort to strip away illusion. It takes everything false and burns it until only what is real can survive. Most men run at this stage, not because they lack strength, but because they cannot endure the truth of who they are right now. They mistake the discomfort of change for the pain of destruction. But you are different. You are here because you know the only way out of weakness is through the flame. In Chapter 3, you will see how the fire does not just test you. It reveals you, cuts into you, and shows you exactly where your true strength has been hiding. Discomfort is not an enemy. It is an interrogation. It asks questions your comfort never allowed you to hear. Questions like, who are you when nothing is easy? Who are you when no one is watching? Who are you when strength is required, but you don't have any left? This is the truth the fire reveals. The forge does not care about the story you tell yourself. It does not care about your potential, your image, your excuses. It shows you only what you can endure in the moment the heat rises. Strength is not a theory. It is a reaction. Pain strips away illusions. Your ego burns first. Your pride melts next. Then the mask you've worn for years cracks under pressure. What remains is the real you. The frightened parts, the untrained parts, the parts you didn't want to admit, still control your life. Discomfort exposes the truth. Comfort hides. When the fire hits, your instinct speaks before your mind does. Do you retreat? Do you freeze? Do you collapse? Or do you step forward, even if your legs shake, even if your lungs burn, even if your will trembles? Your instinct in the fire reveals your true identity. Discomfort reveals weakness, And this is a gift, because a man who cannot see his weakness cannot grow. Comfort blinds. Pain clarifies. The fire points to the exact place that must be rebuilt. It says, here, this is where you break. This is where we start. Discomfort reveals your capacity for honesty, not honesty with others, honesty with yourself. Inside the heat, you cannot pretend. You cannot inflate your discipline. You cannot hide your limits. The forge makes every lie collapse under the weight of reality. And in that collapse, you finally see the man you are and the man you must become. Discomfort reveals your fear, not the fear of injury, the fear of failure, the fear of effort, the fear of confronting how far you still have to go. Most men avoid growth not because they cannot endure pain, but because they fear what pain will reveal about them. Discomfort reveals your patterns. How you respond to pressure is how you respond to life. Do you quit early? Do you distract yourself? Do you blame circumstances? Do you crumble under expectations? The fire magnifies these patterns until you can no longer ignore them. Awareness is the first weapon of transformation. Discomfort reveals your character. Words do not matter here. Intentions do not matter here. Only action matters. Only endurance matters. Only the willingness to stand 1 second longer than the weaker version of you matters. Character is measured by what you do when everything hurts. Discomfort reveals your spirit, not the polished version, the raw version, the one that shakes, the one that doubts, the one that screams in your mind, stop, and the stronger voice underneath it that whispers, no, continue. That whisper is your real spirit. It appears only under fire. Discomfort reveals your hunger. What do you want badly enough to suffer for, to sweat for, to bleed for, to break for, and rise again? If you are willing to endure the heat, your hunger becomes undeniable. If not, it was never hunger, only fantasy. Discomfort reveals your loyalty to your future self. Anyone can stay loyal to who they are today. Only a warrior stays loyal to who he must become. The fire forces you to choose, stay the same, or evolve through pain. Who you become depends entirely on how you answer that question. In Chapter 4, you will learn how the heat begins to transform you, how the fire that once exposed you begins to rebuild you into someone who no longer fears the truth it reveals. Transformation does not happen when life is easy. It happens when the fire has burned you long enough for the weak parts to fall away. Not instantly, not dramatically, but gradually, like metal taking shape under endless strikes. You do not notice the change at first, but the fire does. The first transformation is familiarity with pain. Where you once panicked, you now breathe. Where your mind once screamed, your breath steadies it. The burn is still there, but it no longer terrifies you. You recognize it as the language of growth. The second transformation is stability under pressure. Your legs still shake, your arms still tremble, your lungs still burn, but you remain upright. You remain present. You remain in the fight. Pain used to pull you apart. Now it holds you together. The pressure that once broke you is now the pressure that builds you. The third transformation is clarity inside chaos. The smoke around you thickens. The heat around you rises. The noise inside your mind tries to return. But your focus cuts through everything like a blade drawn in silence. You see the next step with cold accuracy. The fourth transformation is resistance becoming tolerance. What once felt unbearable now becomes manageable. The weight that crushed you now feels familiar. The drills that overwhelmed you now feel necessary. Your body is adapting. Your identity is hardening. Your spirit is catching fire. The fifth transformation is identity shift. You stop viewing yourself as someone who tries to be strong. You begin viewing yourself as someone who is becoming strong. Your choices change. Your posture changes. Your tone changes. You walk differently, not lighter but heavier, as if carrying the memory of every battle you refuse to flee. The sixth transformation is emotional control. Where frustration once erupted, now focus appears. Where fear once froze you, now breath steadies you. Where doubt once whispered loudly, now purpose whispers louder. Emotion does not rule you anymore. It fuels you. The seventh transformation is aggression turning into precision. Not reckless aggression, directed aggression. Your strikes become clean. Your movements become intentional. Your strength becomes disciplined. Chaos becomes structure in your hands. The eighth transformation is self-respect. Not the kind that comes from praise, not the kind built from comfort, but the kind forged in nights where you pushed through pain, screamed into silence, and finished the work when quitting would have been easier. You begin to trust your own word. The ninth transformation is discipline becoming instinct. Not forced, not negotiated, instinctive. You rise even when tired. You train even when unmotivated. You push even when empty. Your body now recognizes discomfort as a signal, not a threat. The 10th transformation is the death of your old self. The version of you that avoided pressure, that ran from struggle, that hid from difficulty. He cannot survive the fire you continue to enter. He breaks. He burns. He dissolves into the smoke, and you do not mourn him. He was the weight that kept you from rising. The 11th transformation is a new relationship with pain. You stop asking, when will this get easier? And start asking, how much stronger can I become? Pain becomes not an obstacle, but an ally. The hammer that shapes you, the heat that purifies you, the forge that rebuilds you. And the final transformation is this. You begin to sense that the fire is no longer fighting you. It is accepting you. It is preparing you. It is sharpening you into someone who will walk into challenges that would have destroyed the man you used to be. You are no longer avoiding the heat. You belong in it. Strength does not announce itself loudly. It does not arrive with applause. It appears in small, sharp moments. Moments only you can feel. Moments inside the fire where the old you would have collapsed, but the new you refuses to bend. These are the signs that the forging has begun. The first sign is you endure longer. The burn that once shattered you now lasts a few seconds more. Your legs still tremble, your lungs still scream, but you stay. You stand. You refuse to break as quickly as you used to. This increase is small, but it is everything. The second sign is your breathing becomes steadier. Where panic once controlled your chest, now discipline does. Your inhale cuts through chaos. Your exhale calms the storm. Your breath becomes a weapon, slow, heavy, commanding, one that weak men never learn to use. The third sign is your mind stops running first. Before, the slightest discomfort sent your thoughts spiraling. But now, even when your body shakes, your mind stays present, focused, locked in. You begin to think inside the chaos instead of fleeing from it. The fourth sign is Your posture strengthens. Your back straightens even under exhaustion. Your head lifts even while sweat and blood roll down your face. Your stance widens, your shoulders square, your presence thickens. You start to carry yourself like someone who has lost battles but kept fighting. The fifth sign is your excuses disappear. Before, you justified everything. I'm tired. I'm stressed. I don't feel ready. Now you say nothing. You show up. You work. You suffer deliberately. Silence replaces excuses when strength begins to form. The sixth sign is you no longer fear repetition. Weak men crave novelty. Strong men crave mastery. You understand now that the same motion, the same drill, the same pain hits different when done with intention. Repetition stops boring you. It starts building you. The seventh sign is pressure sharpens you instead of scattering you. You react cleaner, move cleaner, think cleaner. The more the fire rises, the more focused you become. This is the quiet shift from surviving discomfort to commanding it. The eighth sign is your recovery becomes faster. You no longer collapse between efforts. You no longer gasp for minutes before continuing. You rise quicker, reset quicker, re-enter the fire quicker. Your body adapts to the intensity of your will. The ninth sign is your emotions become quieter. Fear whispers softer. Doubt loses its teeth. Frustration burns out quicker. You do not suppress emotions. You outgrow them. They no longer dictate your actions. Purpose takes their place. The 10th sign is you begin choosing discomfort. You don't wait for difficulty to find you. You walk toward it with steady, heavy steps. You choose the heavier weight. You choose the harder path. You choose the longer fight. Not out of pride, out of understanding. You know now that suffering with intention is the only road to strength. The 11th sign is your presence changes. People feel it before you notice it. Your silence becomes weight. Your eyes carry fire. Your movements hold authority, born not from ego, but from endurance. You no longer look like someone avoiding hardship. You look like someone who walked through it and came back stronger. And the final sign, the one impossible to miss, is this. You become harder to kill. Not physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Life hits you and you don't fall the same way. Pressure raises and you don't crack the same way. Pain cuts and you don't bleed the same way. You are no longer the fragile man you once were, and deep inside, you know it. Strength is not built in moments of comfort. It is built in the hours where your muscles shake, your lungs burn, your vision blurs, and every instinct in your body screams for you to stop. Strength is a craft, and like all crafts, it demands a method. The first method is embrace the first strike. Do not hesitate when discomfort hits. Do not pause to negotiate with fear. Do not wait for courage to appear. Step into the heat the moment it rises. Weakness wins in moments of hesitation. Strength wins in moments of immediate action. The second method is control the breath under fire. When flames surround you, your breath is the only anchor you have. Slow the inhale, deepen the exhale. Match your breathing to the rhythm of the strike. A warrior who controls his breath controls the battlefield, both outside and inside himself. The third method is tighten your focus. Pain scatters attention. Chaos scatters intention. But strength begins when your eyes lock onto one point and all noise dissolves. Every rep, every strike, Every moment of burning effort should happen with your mind focused like a blade. The fourth method is move violently within discomfort. Weak men freeze when pain spikes. Strong men move. They push. They step. They adjust. They shift their stance even when their legs tremble. Movement inside pain is how you teach your body that discomfort is not the end. It is the beginning. The fifth method is break tasks into battles. A battle is not won in one motion. Strength is built one strike at a time, one push at a time, one breath at a time. Turn each moment of effort into a single battle you must win. Small victories forge giants. The sixth method is channel emotion into force. Fear, anger, frustration, doubt. Let them move through your body instead of your thoughts. Direct them into each strike, each lift, each step. Emotion turns into power only through action. The seventh method is attack the weakness you discover. Pain reveals fragility. Your job is to destroy it. If your arms fail, train them harder. If your legs buckle, push deeper. If your mind wavers, breathe slower and hold the line. Weakness is not punishment. Weakness is instruction. The eighth method is extend your suffering intentionally. Stay longer. Hold longer. Push longer. One more second after your body gives up is where strength actually begins. Not in the comfortable reps, in the impossible ones. The ninth method is rise faster between efforts. Do not fall apart. Do not collapse in defeat. Reset quickly. Stand quickly. Return quickly. Your recovery speed reveals your discipline more than your performance does. The 10th method is create a ritual before the fire. A breath, a stance, a hand on the ground. A moment where you remind yourself, I do not run from heat, I walk into it. Rituals anchor the mind and steady the spirit when the body begins to break. The 11th method is finish every fight on purpose. Do not stop randomly. Do not quit mid-motion. End each set with control, with intention, with your breath steady and your stance grounded. If you decide the ending, the pain cannot. And the final method is the hardest one of all. Return to the fire the next day. Strength is not built in a single moment of courage. It is built in a lifetime of returning to the same flames that once burned you and choosing to endure them again. The forge remembers every strike, and it rewards only the man who continues striking. There is a silence that comes only after war. Not the war outside, but the war inside. The war against your weakness, the war against your excuses, the war against the man you used to be. When the fire burns long enough and you have stepped into it again and again, a strange quiet settles in your chest. A quiet that feels heavy, earned, and unbreakable. It is the silence of a man who no longer fears effort, who no longer panics when discomfort rests, who no longer negotiates with his own weakness. You feel the fire still burning around you, but it no longer shakes you. You stand inside it with steady breath and steady mind. This silence is the first proof that strength is no longer something you chase. It is something you carry. Your movements change. They become deliberate, not rushed, not frantic. Every step feels grounded, anchored by suffering you refuse to run from. Your body still aches, your muscles still burn, your scars still speak. But none of it pulls you away from the path anymore. Pain walks with you, but it does not control you. You have learned to walk with fire in your lungs and calm in your eyes. Your reactions change too. Where you once exploded, you now endure. Where you once retreated, you now advance. Where you once doubted, you now breathe. This silence inside you is not emptiness. It is mastery. The absence of panic. The absence of weakness. The absence of hesitation. The fire once scattered you. Now it shapes you. Now it obeys you. Your thoughts become sharper. The noise that once filled your mind is drowned out by purpose. When pressure rises, your mind no longer collapses under the weight of fear. It expands. It calculates. It prepares. This is the mind of a man who has suffered with intention, a mind that has learned to remain still even when the world is burning. There is a moment in every warrior's life where he realizes he is no longer the same creature that walked into the fire. That moment is quiet. It does not feel like victory. It feels like recognition. Recognition that the weakness he fought for years no longer holds the throne. Recognition that strength is no longer an act. It is his nature. And this silence begins to follow you into everything you do. Into your mornings, your training, your conversations, your failures, your victories. It is the silence of a man who trusts himself, a man who has seen what he can survive, a man who knows that no challenge is greater than the fire he has already endured. The world begins to react to you differently, not because you seek respect, but because you no longer seek approval. Your eyes carry weight. Your presence carries fire. Your silence carries truth. People sense the difference. They sense the struggle you walked through. They sense the violence you endured alone, and they sense the discipline that rebuilt you. You no longer fear what comes next. You no longer worry about how hard life will hit. Strength removes the illusion that you must avoid pain to live well. You now understand that life is shaped by the pain you choose, the pain you step toward. And strength is shaped by the pain you endure. Your relationship with pressure changes completely. You stop hoping for an easier path. You stop waiting for a break in the storm. You stop praying for softer days. Instead, you raise your chin and walk forward. Pressure does not crush you anymore. It sharpens you. It clarifies you. It sculpts you. You become someone who functions best under weight. And then comes the deepest silence of all. The silence of purpose. Where every action carries intention. Where every struggle carries meaning. Where every step carries the memory of the man you had to kill to become the one standing now. This silence is not gentle. It is powerful. It is final. It tells you you have crossed a threshold few men ever reach. Strength is no longer something you perform. It is something you are. Pain is no longer something you avoid. It is something you wield. Discipline is no longer a battle. It is a language your body now speaks without instruction. You have become the product of the fire you once feared, and as the heat fades and the smoke settles, you realize one truth that will follow you for the rest of your life. You were not born strong. You were rebuilt. One strike, one scar, one breath, one silent victory at a time. This is the man you chose to become. This is the silence you earned.